In 2005, off the coast of Japan, the tankers Nikumaru and Kyokumaru were operating in restricted visibility when they collided. Welcome to episode 16. Today we'll be looking at the only rule in section 3, which is the conduct of vessels in restricted visibility. Taking a look at rule 19, which is conduct of vessels in restricted visibility. We also have a special guest today, Matthew Bonvento, who will be discussing the incident between the Kyokumaru and the Nikumaru, as well as reviewing rule 19 with us. All right. So with me today, I have Matthew Bonvento. We're going to discuss a couple of incidents that revolve a lot about Rule 19, which is in today's video. So Matt, if you would, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you come from, what your background is.
Absolutely, and thanks for having me today, Brian. Really happy to be here. I graduated from the great state University of New York Maritime College in 2001 with my bachelor's degree and my third mate's license. I started going to sea in 2001, right after graduation, while actually at the same time working on my master's degree. I finished that in 2004, and I sailed actually until 2012. 2012, I took a job with one of the flag state ship registries, the Vanuatu Ship Registry, which was based here in New York, where I was the senior manager for compliance in regulatory, safety, and security. So I spent 6 years conducting accident investigations as well as enforcing SOLAS and STCW and MARPOL rules on board our ship. Which is really ties right into Rule 19, especially when you're investigating a collision.
So we have a couple of incidents that we want to look at. The Kiyukumaru, is that how you pronounce it?
Yes, the Kyokumaru, which was involved in an accident with the Nikomaru. And this whole investigative report is available on the IMO GISIS website. So nothing we're talking about here is not publicly available to anybody who wants to look at it. So anybody who is interested in looking at other accident investigations, for safety reasons, this is all available. It's a flag state responsibility to actually report this to the IMO. So this accident actually took place a few years ago, in 2005. July of 2005, off the coast of Japan, and considered a very serious casualty because there was loss of life involved, sadly enough. At 4:05 in the morning, in restricted visibility conditions due to fog on the south coast of Japan, the oil tanker Kyokumaru collided with the chemical tanker Nikomaru. Okay, now, when we do an accident investigation, it's never just one cause. So although I may say Rule 19 played a factor, a lot of the rules of the road will play a factor. So I take a look at safe speed, for example. Was the vessel traveling at a safe speed? Which, if you ever sat through one of my courses, you'll hear me say, if you had a collision, you were not traveling at a safe speed. And restricted visibility, one of the things we always concern ourselves with also is the role of the lookout. So if you're in restricted visibility, which these vessels did not have, they did not call extra lookouts out. Now, obviously, that's always a financial consideration for a master and an owner as to how they're going to pay overtime if that's the case. But when it comes to safety, that is the overriding concern. But before I continue, if you'll allow me, Brian, I actually want to read Rule 19 so everybody is on the same page with us.
Okay, sounds great.
And Rule 19, inland and international, is the same thing. Conduct of vessels in restricted visibility. This rule applies to vessels not in sight of one another when navigating in or near an area of restricted visibility. Every vessel shall proceed at a safe speed adapted to the prevailing circumstances and conditions of restricted visibility. A power-driven vessel shall have her engines ready for immediate maneuver. Every vessel shall have due regard to the prevailing circumstances and conditions of restricted visibility when complying with Rules 4 through 10. A vessel which detects by radar alone the presence of another vessel shall determine if a close quarters situation is developing or risk of collision exists. If so, she shall take avoiding action in ample time, provided that when such action consists of an alteration of course, so far as possible the following shall be avoided: an alteration of course to port for a vessel forward of the beam, other than for a vessel being overtaken, and an alteration of course toward a vessel abeam or abaft the beam, except where it has been determined that a risk of collision does not exist. Every vessel which hears apparently forward of her beam the fog signal of another vessel, or which cannot avoid a close quarter situation with another vessel forward of her beam, shall reduce her speed to the minimum at which she can be kept on course. She shall, if necessary, take all her way off, and, in any event, navigate with extreme caution until the danger has passed or the risk of collision is over. So when we take a look at Rule 19, especially in an accident investigation, there's a lot going on right there. We talk about having engines ready for immediate maneuver. Now, a lot of us don't think about this, especially in open ocean with automated engine rooms.
Yeah.
Sometimes changing the speed of a vessel will require the engineer to take the automation off or make a setting adjustment in order for the helmsman, in order for the mate on watch, I'm sorry, to actually change the speed. Most mates are programmed to not change speed. Will think, oh, I'll change course, but I don't want to reduce speed because I have to make arrival at the pilot station at a particular time. I reduce speed now. How much is that going to affect my arrival? We often don't think of these things, but the rules call for us to reduce speed in a risk of collision scenario under Rule 19. It's not just about posting an extra lookout at the bow and taking collision avoidance measures. So if we take a look again at the Kyoku Maru and the Nikko Maru, it's pretty obvious that they did not reduce speed. In the accident investigation report, they concluded a violation of Rule 6, the rule of safe speed. Both vessels were proceeding at full speed in the fog. So neither one of them reduced their speed, and they ran right into each other. They didn't crawl. They didn't walk. They ran right into each other.
That's got shades of the Stockholm and the Andrea Doria written all over it. Both vessels
Exactly.
full power.
And, the Stockholm and Andrea Doria, that had the consideration of, early use of radar. Radar had only been in use for a few short years at that time. The Nyoko Maru and the Nikoku Maru, that was many years after the implementation of radar. They could see each other on radar, but they didn't obviously take it seriously.
Now, when it came to the radar plotting, did they have ARPA on board? Were they doing manual plots, or they were just kind of what were they? Was there any?
So neither vessel was fitted with an ARPA. Both vessels were without an ARPA. So they would have been doing manual plotting, which has been something that's cited by the NTSB a few times, even here in the US, the lack of maintenance of manual radar plotting skills. So two vessels operating without ARPA created a dangerous situation when neither one of them reduced speed. Also mentioned in the investigation report is a violation of Rule 5, the rule for lookout. Uh, the investigating authority, which was Japan, determined that neither vessel had enough of a lookout on the bridge at that time.
Interesting. So not only did they not have enough men posted to maybe up on the bow or on the stern with a handheld radio or access to a sound-powered phone, depending on how the vessel's equipped, they didn't have enough people in the wheelhouse in the bridge.
Exactly. And as you and I both know, and your viewers know, having an extra set of eyes and ears in reduced visibility is of the utmost importance. You know, every safety management system that a vessel has, or towing safety management system, is almost immediately at the beginning discussing the safety of the vessel as the priority.
All right. Well, Matthew, thank you. Take care. And be safe out there.
You too.
Thank you, Matthew. For my full interview with Matthew, please tune in on Friday at 0800 Central Time. Question of the week. Last week's question and answer. What makes a wing and ground craft different than a seaplane? And the answer is, a seaplane is a craft whose landing gear is specifically designed to land and take off from the water. A wing and ground craft uses the surface effect between the surface of the water and the wing to generate lift. This week, thank you again for Captain Michael Taylor for giving us the correct answer. This week's question. Inland. What sound does a vessel pushing ahead make while operating in restricted visibility? Please include your answers in the comments below. Next week, we'll take a look at Rule 20, which is the application rule, and Rule 21, which is the definitions, as we get into the lights and shapes part of the rules. And again, please remember to tune in on Friday for my full interview with Matthew Bonvento. If you know of anybody who would benefit or appreciate these videos, please share them with them. And as always, please remember to click like, subscribe, and stay safe out there, everybody. Have a great week.